Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are in the world, joining me for the weekly wrap up. So it's been another really boring week. So there's lots of videos going out on TikTok and Instagram if you like psychology and quantum theory and quantum mechanics. So you can watch there. In case you're bored and you want to just check some of that stuff out. As always, I need to let you know that we are brought to you by OKX. Please go and check them out at okx.com and put in the sign up link 1890266. That code will get you some free goodies and some, cool stuff and fee discounts. More importantly, is what you want. So, that is why we're here. And also by Getting Started in Crypto, you can see behind me. That's my business. If you want to check that out, gettingstartedincrypto.com. And for those that have made some lovely comments on my social media about me looking nice, I just want to show you guys something because I've got a lot of female viewers. And over the past year, I've been working really hard on because last year I had so many health issues. I had my appendix out. What some of you don't know is I had a tumor removed earlier this year of my thyroid. And that's been keeping me really sick. And that's early this year. That's why I missed a few of the wrap ups. So I don't know if you can see this. But this is my weight loss. It looks like a dead alt, but it's we've got signals being posted. But I have literally lost 20 kilos since December last year. So I'm just like, woo. And I've just hit my goal weight this week. So I'm super, super pumped. And that's from eating super healthy and exercise and bringing you guys charts. That's probably not why, but let's say it anyway. So I'm super pumped. So for anyone out there, it can be done. And I wasn't fat to start with, but I wanted to be my best self and healthy. So that's why I've done it. And I feel 100% better. And I still don't sleep because crypto's all the time. But let's get into some charts. We've got a pretty boring market at the moment, but we'll see if we can have a look and find what we've got. I've got KJ, hey, in the chat. So if you're in the chat and here or on X and you're watching this, you can request some alts. And if I get some time at the end, I will get to those and check them out for you. So let's have a look. So this is BTC. We've been trending sideways. Now, I've seen so many posts this week about how this is the worst bull market ever, that it's hardly moved anything this year, which is probably true. But that's why you need to learn to play the waves and the ups and downs of this market. So somebody on TradingView was telling me that the bottom was in 2024, and I'm like, no, that's not how the cycle works. So let's go back to the BLX. So the bottom of this run was all the way down here in 21st November 22. So that was the FTX crash that completed that cycle. Then we went into this cycle. So we need to know how this 4-year cycle works to get the most benefit out of BTC, Ethereum, alts, everything, and make the most money out of the market. So at the moment, depending on where we are, if you sold at this point, which is a resistance, you would have made 725%. That's not a bad bull market when you think about it. If you sold, or if you're just hanging in there now and you bought the bottom, then it's about 620%. So it's not a bad bull market as far as I'm concerned. So as we go and we continue, we are coming to the end of this market. So if we go by Bitcoin being on a 4-year cycle, it works within the 8-year cycle of the traditional market. So that 8-year cycle started sort of in December of 2017 when we had that high at 20K for Bitcoin. Now, if we're looking at that, we're going through to about the 21st, 22nd of December. Don't quote me on those dates. People have been giving me a hard time on TradingView about it, but that's potentially how far this has got to go. We look like we're going to get more cuts in interest rates, and so that should fuel the market. We continue to get tether pumps and tether prints, then that should fuel the market. We got a nice bounce yesterday. Is that bounce enough for us to continue up at the moment? We would need some more tether. We're right underneath a pivot. So this first pivot here, and that's what we really need to watch, is sitting at 112,882. Now it's going to be slightly different on each exchange. This is a Femex chart. Now, if it breaks there, the next pivot up is 115,130. So that's kind of the levels we need to break for this to be bullish right now. I don't think it is. I think we're still going down to touch 107. Now, if we break that 107, 100,700 is the next sort of support, and then 96. There's a lot of liquidity sitting between 100 and 96, huge amount. So that could be something that happens before the next FOMC, and we might not get in October. Sorry, guys. But if this is a larger pattern ABC, we could potentially continue up. A WXY we'd have to get now, so because it would have to be ABC, 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 different pattern altogether. So it would be WX would need to hold that low, and the Y would probably sit somewhere in that pivot zone, and then not breaking that high, and then coming back down. So that's the potential of the bullish pattern. I don't think we're going to get a new high this month or next month. Maybe sort of heading in, if we've still got a fifth wave to go, maybe November, December are going to be quite explosive, and then we get quite a bit of movement. So that's kind of the upward pattern for BTC. When we're looking at the reverse and the negative pattern for BTC, we are looking at those regions that I just sort of mentioned. So we're going back down. We put some fibs on this. We're sitting mid-fib. So this blue line is around the 618. This next one is about 1-to-1. And then we're sitting down at the 1.236 at that 96 sort of range. So I haven't exactly put those on correctly, but yeah, that's the realistic sort of outcome for BTC. Have we topped? It's a bit early in the cycle to say that, because we're still sitting at sort of November, essentially where the top should come in. Now, this top was August. I technically think that's too early for a top to be on this 4-year cycle. It's been a weird cycle, but I don't think that is the top. So I think there's still more to come. So I think this is a buy the dip sort of scenario, but we will keep continuing to persevere with this, and hopefully more tether prints, more money entering. We've still got those futures and those contracts getting released. So they will hold over until maybe around the 1st. And then they'll come into the market. We saw some yesterday come into the market, but that's not all of them. There's a lot more to come. So there's a lot more negotiations going on behind the scenes that we don't know about, and they come back in. So especially with the big players. So that's the scenario for BTC. So we're still in this very boring zone where we don't know which way we're going. We're going red, yellow, or green. So right in the middle, and we're sitting there. So we may not break out. Stranger things have happened. You know, the whole world comes in and goes, I'm going to buy Bitcoin all on the same day. We might get a massive pump. Can happen. Anything can happen, really, but, you know, highly unlikely. So I technically think we're going to be sitting in this yellow bit or the red one for the next little bit. So potentially if we get that next high, that's when we will be going, okay, is this another fifth wave? And we're just going to hit that resistance again. So yeah, we do. Robert Walker has just made a comment in the chat, and it's like, we do need institutional leads. We need more of that happening. We need more of that coming into the news. We need it, those cuts, those rate cuts really coming in, because at the moment the jobless rate is too high, and, you know, inflation is too high, and people are really struggling. So they're not going to be buying Bitcoin, which is seen as a risk asset. So we need the institutions to come in. This late in the market, maybe November, December are going to be huge and give everyone that hope that we want. But I think we're probably going to hit that resistance, and then we're going to come back down. I don't think we're, you know, stranger things happen. We could go back down to this support, which is like 77. That could be our low for the next run. And, you know, then we're looking at those 250Ks. We've got, this is a wave, you know, high here. So that's potentially where we're headed. Not now, but sort of down the track once we, you know, have got the high. But yeah, it's kind of a bit depressing, the market at the moment. Nobody's kind of around on any of the platforms or anything. So it's like, I'm just sitting here going, twiddle my thumbs, come and talk to me. So, and yeah, so there's again, and hey to ours, Mr. Billionaire 2.0. Hey to Jonas, and of course, Robert. Now, BTC dominance. This is in an interesting position. So if we can crack this through, obviously alts are going to suffer if this breaks through. Ideally, we want to just sort of crawl up this red resistance and then come back down. That's the ideal scenario. We break through, alts are actually going to get smashed. Alts are all on supports at the moment, so I'll go to that after, but they're on supports at the moment. So we don't want those to get smashed, because that will break patterns, and then I'll be like, maybe we have topped, but I don't think we have. So yeah, BTC dominance, we want to hold under the 59 at the moment, or just crawl up along this line. I'm sort of thinking it's going to get to about 62, maybe to 64 by the end of the year. And, you know, it's just going to be that seesaw effect as the alts go through. USDT is sitting here just under that pivot I mentioned last week. We want that to break down. We want this USDT dominance to break down, because if that breaks down, that means people are buying into crypto, and the market is getting more liquidity coming in. Total is not looking great. Looks like it may potentially have one more wave down. It doesn't look complete as yet. Has got a potential double bottom there. So maybe, just maybe, we got a double bottom. There's a couple of, like I was telling you last week, really sort of dodgy, sort of like truncated waves on these charts, where it's like, okay, are we done yet, or have we got one more wave? Because that is potentially looking like a double bottom. But if we don't pass the pivot here at 3.96 trillion, I'm going to put a pivot line on there, then we are going down. So potentially we could get a small pump in this region, come up to this 3.96 trillion pivot line, and then come back down for that to complete that Y wave. We break through that, then we're looking at this being complete, and we're going to see more tether prints, a lot more tether prints, a lot more institutional money coming in, a lot more ETFs getting buoyant, and yeah, that sort of thing. DXY now. When there's excuse my language here, but there's like a heavy metal song that every time I look at the DXY I think of, and it's like, die motherfucker, die motherfucker, die. So because we want that to happen, we absolutely want that to happen, because that happens, then that's the seesaw effect as well, where people are like coming out of that and going into stocks and Bitcoin and all the assets. So every time you look at the DXY, you've got to sing it and put that energy across, and hopefully it'll go down to that 94 zone. Ethereum has bounced off the 382 fib, which was also the support, which is a good sign, good strong sign. I don't know if it's done, could be done. Again, a lot of the charts are not looking quite done. So Ethereum pivot is sitting between 4,380 and 4,470. We break through that region, we're heading to 5K. We just missed on touching that last time, so it's looking pretty good. We're still holding this just by the skin of its teeth. MACD is looking likely it's going to be, crossing over and heading up. And yeah, so we should see some movement and some momentum, whether it's just, those small movements and just enough for scalps at the moment. Robert Walker has said in the chat that it is due to France and Germany economically performing so poorly. In 2026, he thinks that the euro is in trouble and the USD will pump at some point. I did look at the euro chart for somebody recently, so I'm going to bring that up because it was a GP, Great Britain, because I was swapping from, but I will have a look at the euro with USD because that's an interesting one as well. My internet is going to be super slow. All right. While this decides to load, I'm going to run you guys an ad for getting started in crypto. And hopefully by the time this ad, it's 30 seconds, comes back, this is all loaded. So be back in a sec. Okay, I'm in there. Now I'm in there. All right, let me share this screen again. Okay. This is fun, like having all right, have we got a sound? All right. So no, it was not sound was off, it was just the internet crashed and I had to give it a boot. So link, so as we said last week, it has just come back down and touched the pivot, and the 100 MA had a small bounce, still potentially might go to 18. So just be aware of that. As I said, if you are marginal leverage trading. Now we had this move down. We do look like we've got enough waves on a couple of these alts, unless we get an extended like pattern. So this 4 may be done. When we drop it down to a 2-hour chart, we have just enough waves in this pattern. So it's quite a nice sort of corrective pattern for link. So we could see stuff starting to move, like even if it's just like a wave 1, we're coming back down and we're doing a really small wave 1 over the next week, and we're just coming back down and doing a double bottom. Excuse me. That's potentially what we're going to see for some of the alts. Solana had a really strong bounce from the pivot area and the support. So, and it was just above the golden zone, which is a nice correction. So if this breaks down, though, as we were saying last week, it's coming down to about 176. So that's only if BTC. So if we go back to BTC, if we are breaking down further, coming into this region and then coming back down here, breaking through that, alts are going to bleed. We don't want that to happen. So we kind of want these regions to hold. Pyth was one we were looking at last week. Again, is just sort of crawling on this region. SWE, now this one is doing my head in because we had it in a triangle, broke down from the triangle. It's now potentially in a channel. We want it to break above that median line, which is about 3.46. The pivot on this one's 3.6. So breaking through that is a bit more bullish for this one overall. I do think we're going to pull back in the next little bit. We're getting quite high on the RSIs on a lot of these, on the lower time frames, not higher time frames. So to be small pullbacks. Say is still in this triangle, still holding really nicely. So a bounce on all the indicators looking good. MACD looks like it's about to turn up. HBAR, I think it's got one more wave down, might come up and touch those MAs at about 22 and then come back down to the golden zone at about 19. And ENA, I think, is going into this ABC. So I'm going to see if the internet is going to be friendly, and let me open this Euro chart. So, yay! All right. So I've opened it, like not from one of my saved ones. It doesn't like my saved charts for some reason. So I'm going to go higher time frame on these because it's always good to start quite high on these ones and then sort of move the way backwards. Now they look like literally like a shit coin that's just dropped. When you put it onto the higher time frame, you're like, whoa, this is no pattern. What is it doing? So we're going to draw some lines and see if we've got a pattern at all. Anything. We've got a breakout. So that does mean potentially we're coming back down. I don't think it's a big drop though. I literally think the euro, there's a couple of countries that have just adopted the euro from their normal currency as well. So that could be helping the euro. We've got a doji, which means on this pattern, particularly where that doji is sitting, that's a short-term pullback. It's not a long-term pullback. So I just think maybe it gets a retest of this region. We're going to drop it down to a weekly. And definitely looks to be curling over. So it definitely looks like it will get that retest. We're getting a bit more sell pressure in that region. 3 days. Yeah. So we've got the 100 and the 200 MA sitting there at the moment. And that to me says that they act like a magnet. So that will be pulling those waves down. They come back, it tests, it's like running over to mummy. It's like, oh, I'm okay. And then comes back. So we've still got sell pressure in this region. So I think definitely we're heading down to 111 on this Euro USD pair. So that's the potential. The GP pair at the moment, so the Euro GP pair. Now that was an interesting, might have been GP Euro. No. Oh, hang on. Oh. So for anyone in England traveling, this was an interesting chart. So it did look like, again, when we're looking at the 3-day, we do look like it's just a random shitcoin that's dropped in, and this is currency. So we have got a triple bottom on this, and it's quite an interesting pattern because, you know, this is sort of just come under this region. Nothing wants to work today, so sorry guys. There we go. Okay, so we've got a complete corrective pattern. We could have one more touchdown to this 82. I don't think it's going to break down, but this is a really like bullish chart. So the euro is looking likely like one more pullback. So if you're in Great Britain, you want to get that exchange at that point, and then the euro is actually going to smash the pound. So when we're kind of looking at that, we're going, okay, the euro is gaining dominance on a lot of stuff at the moment. So I don't think it's in trouble. Like, I literally think a lot of countries that use their own currency are moving across slowly, and we're going to see more of that in the news that they're coming across. There's going to be, you know, obviously larger countries like France and Germany that are going to be struggling because they have a lot of protests and that sort of stuff happening at the moment. So, and that costs a lot of money. War, like, and that sort of infrastructure costs money, like police, ambulance, you know, just security, repair, that sort of stuff. So, that's going to be sort of hindering those countries and their growth. So, look to the countries that are about to move and their currency that's about to move. And it's a good idea to short those currencies if you're, you know, want to look at these kind of markets, because there's quite a few moving across at the moment. So, and those currencies will be obsolete. So I will put a list on X as well because I've been watching it. So, and there's quite a bit happening, just sort of behind the scenes with currencies, how they're working, and you know, obviously, Tether buys T-bills, so, and that keeps the US market buoyant. But they look to be moving into other currencies. So watch this space. You know, we could be seeing that sort of euro sort of money coming in as well. Yeah, so there's a lot of sort of back and forwards happening with this, and it's not all it seems. Like, this was always going to be a quieter bull market, so to speak, because we've got all of the institutions sort of coming in and taking over. That doesn't always bring retail buyers. And we've got a lot of regulations, obviously. So new regulations, micro regulations, we've got exchange regulations, so many regulations, and that restricts what they can and can't do. So, and just be careful, because, you know, I said on the update when I put it on X earlier today that I wasn't going to talk about Asta or any of those things, but I'm not going to bring up a chart. You've seen enough of those charts on X from me or CoinMarketCap or within the group, getting started in crypto. They are like, there's a lot of seed investors. Asta has a lock on those coins. Go to the websites that tell you when those coins are going to be unlocked and know when that happens, and then be on an exchange where you can short it, because there's going to be some good shorts coming up. If you're in getting started in crypto, you can head to the Crypto Bytes and it will tell you there. But yeah, there's a lot of big players invested in those, on those dexes, and they don't go up forever. And so just be aware. And they're really new patterns, really, really new patterns. So yeah, what goes up must come down. There's one that I have been following the pattern on X for quite a while, was the this one, MYX. Hopefully it opens. We're going to be slow. You watch my spinning. Hang on. I'm just going to open it here. No, we're not going to open it anywhere, apparently. MYX. So we look at this chart and it's literally just gone straight up, come straight down. Now this is on a 3-day, so it looks quite good on a 3-day. When we drop it down, so this one's on X as well. What you want to be following, like this has got a lot more data than some of the new ones that have dropped. So if you are trading Asta, you want to be following MAs or 9 and 21 EMAs, because these are going to give you the best scenario of trading. So we can see on this hourly, we're about to turn down. So if you can short this, this is literally going to be a nice short. It's going to come back down to about 11. So we normally come back down to those 100 MAs or lower. So it might come back down about 30%. Now, if we drop that down to a 15-minute, we can see that we've got potential support here. So it may not come back down as far, but if we go back down, we count the waves, we've got 5 waves. So it's coming down. It's literally coming down. And that's why Elliott Wave is such a beautiful thing. So we've got 1, 2, and then we've got the 5. So hang on, I should have started there. Wait 2 seconds, remove that. That's our first one. And then we've got, coming back down here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's our, probably come drag it back to there, our 5 waves on this pattern. So that is coming back, depending on like if that's a new impulse. If it's a new impulse, golden zone is normally a good region to rebuy. It may hold. Maybe all of a sudden they might release some information or some updates or something like that. Make sure you follow the teams if you're trading these really new shit coins. So yeah, so it might just sit at that 236. It's not quite there yet. The 200 MA is at that point on the 15-minute chart. If that breaks down, I'd say it is going to that 618. That's kind of the region. So you just want to keep going up and down through the time zone, like time frames for these charts, especially on the new ones, because they just don't have the data. And make sure you watch the team unlocks, because that is going to be the difference of you making money. Because if the team unlocks and it just keeps, and all of the big players sell at once, it's going down, literally dumping, and it's just going to look like a rug. So yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. So yeah, everyone, I think all the big players kind of hate me, like talking about all those coins and sticking my charts under it and telling everyone that they're going down, but that's what I'm here for. And yeah, so if you want to know how to do this sort of stuff and you want more information on trading, please check out Getting Started in Crypto, because if you are learning all of this stuff, I am there to help you, and you can put your charts in there and I will critique them for you. So I've been doing that for a lot of people. A lot of people send me private messages in there as well, because they're a little bit scared everyone might sort of judge them, but everyone's in the same boat. You're all learning, you're all wanting to make money, and there's no judgment as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, so hit me up on X if you do have any charts. I saw some charts in here and I will put those on X. I think we had Cookie and can't find it now. Gone. Anyway, there was Cookie. I'll put up Cookie, and I don't know what the other chart was. But yeah, join me next week, and I'll be on X, I'll be on TikTok, I'll be on Instagram, and of course, I'll be in Getting Started in Crypto. And don't forget to check out OKX and put in my referral link, and you'll get some fee discounts and some goodies when you sign up. So 1890266. Thank you, everyone, for joining me, and I will catch you live next week. Bye.